Welcome to Confessions of a Selfish Bitch, and I have a confession for you today. There are times in my life when I work very intentionally hard to not shift into epic bitch mode. So, there is a reel that I see that goes around on social media pretty regularly, and it says something along the lines of people will tell you that I'm the sweetest person in the whole entire world, and other people will tell you that I'm the biggest bitch they've ever met. Believe them both, they got what they deserved. I may have shared that reel in my stories a few times because it's true. Back in the day when I was in nightlife and running all the big nightclubs in New York and LA, I was an epic bitch. And it really was because I was just very, very unhappy. I was living a complete and total imposter syndrome. I was just never that cool. My friends were all really super duper cool, and the places that I worked were really super duper cool, but I was never really actually that cool. And so being held to that standard, I mean, it was so crazy. Like Tom Ford's Gucci was like sending me clothes to wear. There was at least like one like full page, half page, sorry, picture of me on page 6 in the Post. Like there was stuff, and it was so bizarre because really truly I was never that cool. But that's kind of not the point, because here I am 53 years old, many years later, and I still have a very bitchy alter ego. You know how people say, like, don't be a Karen? Sorry for all of my friends named Karen. You know I'm not talking to you, but that's a thing, right? And a Karen is somebody who is, always complaining, always criticizing, is always scared to do things. And for me, my alter ego is Gina, right? Gina is, whose song is it? Wears bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair. She's got a bad attitude, standing at the bus stop, sucking all that. Who is that? Oh God, he's so hot. LL Cool J, okay? Roundaway Girl. That's a Gina, right? Gina doesn't give shit. And so I have this Gina alter ego, and Gina don't give a shit. Gina says whatever Gina wants to say. Except for that, it's Cher. Oh, damn it. But in this life of wanting to be a better person, of wanting to live a peaceful life, I don't invite drama into my life. And I'm not even going to say that drama finds me. It used to. Like, you know how people say, like, I don't like drama, drama finds me? It's like I just saw the movie Wuthering Heights, and Kathy said, like, why does everybody like to make me cry? And then the other woman, I forget her name right now because I'm spacing on all of these things, said something like, well, maybe it's because you like to cry. Okay, I don't like drama in my life. I've reached a point where I've recognized how I've in the past perpetuated it, how I've invited it, and I just don't want it. So what it is that I need to do so that that shit is not knocking on my door, except for when I was in Florence, it rang the doorbell twice. And here's what happened. I was getting ready to go to a masquerade with my son and his girlfriend and his best friend / roommate. And it was this very glamorous occasion. And I put on a gorgeous gown, and I have this fabulous fascinator hat with a pheasant feather and the netting and a mask and the whole thing. And so I got ready. We weren't leaving until 11:30 at night, which is such a flex for me because I'm usually in bed by 9 o'clock, sometimes 8 o'clock with my book. But, lights are out usually like 9:30 because I like getting up early in the morning and having my quiet mornings, doing my whole routine. So anyway, so it was a flex. But I kind of forced myself to stay on East Coast US time from when I arrived so that I wouldn't be wrecked when we were getting ready to go to this event. So I took my time getting ready. I like twisted my hair into all of these little pin curls and did the blow dryer, which took about 2 hours, and took my time doing my makeup, which usually takes me about 10 minutes, literally. And, laid out my stockings and my jewelry and my gown and my shoes and the whole thing so that I wasn't dressed and sitting waiting for them when they arrived to pick me up at 11 o'clock, because as soon as I would sit down and somebody wasn't there to keep me up or we weren't out the door, that's it. Mom was going to sleep. This is not what we were doing. So I waited until the very last minute to get dressed, because that's what you do. You don't put on your dress and your shoes until it's time to go. Okay, so I put on my dress and my shoes as they were arriving at 11 o'clock. And now I was excited and I was upbeat, and it was a very long hallway from the kitchen and the living room to the bathroom and the bedroom. And my son's girlfriend, Jimena, and I were like doing some finishing touches, and we started taking pictures because I insisted that we had lots of photos and selfies that night, which we didn't actually do a ton of, but for me, I guess it was a lot. And so we went back and forth down the hallway, and at this point I was fully dressed, including my shoes. And first of all, I rarely wear high heels. Like, generally speaking, I wear high heels when I'm going somewhere that's from the car to the dinner table or the theater seat or wherever it is that I'm going, and then back again. After so many years of, again, running clubs wearing stilettos, when I got to the point when I didn't have to do that shit anymore, and I'm a yogi, like I've spent majority of my adult life barefoot. So I don't really wear shoes in the house. I most certainly am not stomping around in high heels. But it turns out I was being inconsiderate for the neighbors, because I get a buzz on the doorbell, which I then ask my son's roommate if his elbow hit the phone buzzer, because who would be ringing the doorbell at 11 o'clock at night? And then the doorbell goes off again, and I answer the door, and there's this elderly Italian woman standing there, and now she's yelling at me in Italian and pointing to my shoes, because I don't really speak Italian. I can get around with where is the bathroom and please and thank you and can you tell me, basic Italian. But this woman was full blown yelling at me, because let me tell you something about Italians and their communication. They're yellers. And it's really intense. Like it's intense for me in Italy because, God forbid you do something that isn't Italian. For example, that day or the day before, I was in a restaurant and I had the most beautiful lunch by myself. My son was taking a nap, or no, it was the day after. My son was taking a nap because we didn't get much sleep that night. And I was sitting in a restaurant having a beautiful lunch by myself, a little glass of white wine, reading my book, had a lovely salad, the most delicious ravioli you've ever had in your whole entire life. And at the end of my meal, I folded up my napkin and put it on the plate. Well, let me tell you something. I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say I'm an Emily Post girl, but kind of. Like, I'm a stickler for manners. I really am a stickler for etiquette. I was raised that way. I believe in it. I refuse to accept that it's a lost art. I'm sorry, but no. So I finished my lunch. I had no intention to have coffee or dessert. I was going to meet my son. Folded up my napkin, put it on my plate. The waiter comes over, looks away from me, plucks my napkin up off of my plate, puts it off on the side and says, in Italy, we don't put the napkin on the plate after we eat. It's rude. And at this point, I'm like, oh my fucking God, if one more person schools me. Okay, back to the night before. There's this little old Italian woman and she's yelling at me. And I'm like, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. And she's saying, take off when you come home. Okay, I'll take off my shoes when I come up the stairs. You're right. It was very inconsiderate. I'm sorry. And she just, and storms off. Now, directly across the hall was an American staying in another Airbnb who swings open her door and is like, what are you doing? Why are you upsetting everyone? Are you American? And I'm like, I literally said to her, I'm so sorry. Who are you? And why are you speaking to me this way? She says, it's Americans like you who give us a bad name in other countries. And stands there with her hand on her hip for a moment. And I just said, good night, and closed my door. You guys, it was such a flex for me to not tell this woman the way that I felt about, number one, her getting involved in a conversation that had nothing to do with her. I understand her opening the door to see what the hell is going on outside of, like, who's yelling in the hallway. I could also understand being like, oh man, you got in trouble. Yeah, people can hear you. You've got to take your shoes off. And I get it, because actually the next day when I was taking a nap, somebody was playing the piano, and it was beautiful piano. But when they step on the pedals, all I really was hearing above the piano was dump, 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 dump. Am I going to go upstairs and be like, stop playing the piano? No. Now, was it 11 o'clock at night that I was stomping around in my shoes? It certainly was. Not here to justify my behavior, because this is kind of, I'm leading up to the point of this story. There's a few points happening that are going to come down the pike for you. Number one, in that moment and the moments after, I had to really choose who I wanted to be. Now, remember that my son and his girlfriend and his best friend were standing next to me. So I could get into bitch mode and totally have asked this woman who opened the door across from me, like, what the fuck are you talking to me like this for? Shut your door, shut your mouth, and go away. And that's what I would have done 25 years ago. I could have even said to the little old Italian lady, okay, I've got it. I'll take my shoes off. I get it. And shut the door. Because she was really yelling at me. Like, it wasn't like, oh, Maron, take the shoes off, please, it's loud. Like, she was yelling at me. But a long time ago, I had decided not to mirror the behavior that was being thrown at me. I'm sorry, but I refused to lower myself. So a couple of things were happening here. Number one, on the spot, I chose the path. I'm not going to say it was the high road, because that's not really how I would define it. It was, I chose on the fly who I wanted to be. Did I want to be the show-off Gina in front of my kids? Did I want to let Gina out of her freaking alter ego closet in front of my kids and get all snappy in this woman's face, which would have been cool and we would have had a good laugh, but then I would have been ashamed. Because who am I teaching my son to be? Who am I demonstrating for him and his friends? Would I have been proud of who I was showing up as? Or would I have the next day had to have the conversation with him saying, it actually wasn't right behavior, and I hope that you don't mirror that behavior? Because I've had to have plenty of conversations with my kids of saying, do better than me. Learn from my mistakes. Learn from the things that I have done that you have viewed as, Mom, what was that? And do better. Or did I want to say like, that was really hard not to clap back at her, but that's just, I don't step down that way. And we had a good laugh. That woman came out all hysterical and like, you make Americans look bad. I don't give a fuck. That's the other thing. Like, I don't walk through this life. And I actually felt bad for that woman, because I walk through this life striving to be considerate, striving to be thoughtful, but also being authentic, also being human, and recognizing, what was my behavior inconsiderate? It absolutely was. Was it intentionally inconsiderate, which would have put me in the selfish bitch category? Absolutely not. I don't ever wear high heels, not never, but rarely, much less in my house. They're the last thing that go on. Much less am I like running up and down the hall, giggling with my son's 22-year-old girlfriend, taking selfies of ourselves. Like, it was exception. Did I deserve to be like, yo, wake up, you're being inconsiderate? Absolutely. Did this woman need to come out on the other side of this door and give me her thoughts? Absolutely not. Did I need to mirror where she was? Absolutely not. And here's an even more interesting thing, because then it took me into the space of forgiveness. This is how deep I go with this shit, you guys. It's no joke. Like, sometimes, you know, in that movie, The Matrix, how Neo gets the chance to take the red pill or the blue pill. And correct me if I'm wrong or not, because it really doesn't matter. And the blue pill is you get to stay in your illusion of what this life is. And the red pill is we're going to take the blinders off and you're going to get to see the truth. I can't tell you how many times I wish I took the blue pill, that I never walked down this road. There are so many times that I wish that I were a person who just walked around oblivious to myself, to the effects of my actions, to the world around me. There are many times, except for it's too late, and those times are few and far between. It's not actually how I wish, but there's times because it's hard. Like this little incident that happened, I really the next day was like looking for, when my son was coming to pick me up the next morning to go to breakfast before the restaurant thing happened, before he went and took his nap, I asked if there was a florist on the way so he could pick up some flowers so I could bring it to the woman who lives downstairs and leave it at her door with an apology note, which I admit was probably taking it too far because I overthink these things and I like those sweet little gestures, and there really actually wasn't a florist, so I didn't go out of my way to do it. I also felt, of course, it was an Airbnb, so I reached out to the host of the Airbnb and extended my most sincere apologies, and at the same time let him know that I don't actually wear shoes in the apartment. It was once and it was for 10 minutes because, you know, there was a time in my life when I apologized for myself all the time. And there's a balance in that. There's a balance in saying, yes, I'm human. Yes, I did that inconsiderate thing. Yes, I will adjust the behavior. No, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And yes, in that person confronting me, I had choices about who I wanted to be. And let me tell you something. We think that the big choices that we make in life are things like who we're going to marry, where we're going to buy a house, whether or not we're going to have children, where we go to college, whether or not we go to college, where we work, whether or not. Granted, those are all, they're big things. I'm not going to sit here and say like, nah, they're nothing. But really what makes up the reality of your life, the overall big picture reality of your life, are all of the little choices that you make moment to moment, day to day. And so what are those choices? And they're the choices of how you're going to react instead of respond. If I let my Gina out at that girl across the street, across the hallway, that's reacting. Instead, I took pause. I definitely asked, like, why are you talking to me? And instead of getting into it with her, said, good night, and closed the door. That's a response. It's not a reaction. It's a reaction. It's a, no, thank you. How you respond, how you show up, what you do, whether you sit around and you choose to say how hard everything is, how nothing is working for you, why can't this happen for me, but yet you're doing nothing. Maybe you're manifesting, maybe you're going through magazines and gluing a bunch of pictures to a poster board. I love it. It's a fun exercise, but it's not going to get you where you need to go. How are you showing up for your relationships? Are you showing up for your relationships in the space of expectation? I will be happy when I get that relationship. And then it's that person's responsibility to make me happy, to navigate through my triggers from my past and know what to do at all times. Is bullshit. Nobody in this world, nobody knows what you need. Sure, you have people in your life long enough that know you well, that have a general idea of what you need. But as you're out living life in society, Nobody knows. So what you choose to react to, somebody cuts you off, are you going to start speeding up and get on their ass and cut around them and then be devastated? What happens if you cause an accident? Oh my God, I didn't mean to. They cut me off and da-da-da-da. Bullshit. Bullshit. How are you showing up at work? Are you complaining about that obnoxious, annoying coworker and how they're sabotaging you? Or are you finding ways to like, yes, that's happening. How is that making me stronger and better? And how do I need to advocate for myself in my job and in my life? Do you see what I'm saying? So this tiny little opportunity gave me this tiny little experience, and I call it an opportunity because that's what it gifted me, to be able to practice forgiveness. How random that derpy little situation launched me into a forgiveness practice, first and foremost of myself, because I was really beating myself up the next day. I don't know why I was so sensitive to it. Maybe there was a moon or something. I don't know, but I was just sensitive to it, and it doesn't matter why. And so I had to go into this practice of, like, when you hear people say you've just got to let go, I say it all the time. You've just got to learn to let go of it. And this is an opportunity to learn to let go of something trivial. And it's not easy. And so as I was having my lunch, I went through a forgiveness practice with myself, with the woman downstairs, with the woman across the hall. And she's really the one that pissed me off. Like, having to do that forgiveness practice with somebody who actually pissed you off it's not easy. Go back to the forgiveness episode and start working it on these little tiny nothing life experiences, because when you do it in these little nothing life experiences is when it's going to give you the traction to have the strength to be able to exercise forgiveness when it actually really matters. But this does really matter because it's who I want to be. Fundamentally, as a human being, I want to be able to forgive and let go. There's no forgetting. Look at this. It's 2 weeks later, and here I am talking to you about it. And, it's interesting because right after it happened, I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about this on my podcast. But I wonder what that talk would have been like if I had done it right away when I got home. But I really did forgive and let it go. And then this morning when I was getting up to record our podcast and I was doing my journaling and my prayer and meditation and reading and all of the things that I do, I don't really actually prepare for podcasts, because when I do, I get in my head and then I'm thinking about what I'm going to say instead of just speaking from my heart and my soul to you. And this came up and I ran to my desk and I was like, okay, I've got to talk about this story, because the bigger picture is, who do you want to be? Who are you? How are you showing up for your life? What little tiny baby steps are you taking consistently over and over and over again in your life that make up the reality of the person that you are and of how you experience this life that you live? So I thought that was a fun little story, and I thought it was an opportunity to share with you because, I'm a nice person and sometimes I'm a bitch, and I'm okay with that. And don't think for a second that when I said to that woman across the hall, like, why are you talking to me? And when I said good night and closed the door, don't think that there wasn't a little Gina bitch mode back there. So, if people tell you I'm the sweetest person they've ever met in their life, or if they tell you I'm the biggest bitch they've ever met in their life, you just go right ahead and believe them, because they got the version of Cher that they deserved. So with that, I'm gonna go. Mwah! Ciao for now, amore mio. And don't forget to watch the mini-sode. I'll see you next time. Oh, and share this with your friends, okay? Like, subscribe, support a girl. Do all the things. Bye. Thank you for being here with me. If something in this episode stirred clarity, discomfort, or recognition, let it. You don't need to rush to resolve it. Integration happens in its own time. And don't forget the mini-sodes. They offer simple yet practical tools to help you integrate what we explore here. Now, if you're navigating a season of transition in relationships, identity shifts, or decisions that call for clarity, grounded perspective, and honest reflection, I do work privately with a small number of women. That information is in the show notes if and when it feels right for you. And if there's a situation you're wrestling with and want a fresh, real life, no bullshit, ride or die best friend perspective on, you're welcome to email me at hello@chermalley.com. I read every message, and I'll do my best to explore it in a future episode or companion minisode. Now, if this resonated, please follow, like, subscribe, and definitely share it with someone who might need to hear it. Take good care of yourself. I'll meet you back here soon. With love, ciao for now.